Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the We Now Know Better podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name is Wim van der Zam, and as usual, I'm your moderator, trying to keep this pod from becoming some form of carnage. We'll try very hard.
A little nameplay there, Wim, on the current Canadian election.
That's right. We'll try hard to inform you and entertain you with a little knowledge, definitely some opinions, and possibly even a little bit of humor. Again, not necessarily in that order, and possibly none of the above. So much to talk about since our last pod. A Canadian federal election is right around the corner. Our predictions on what the outcome might be a little later on in the program. Dave's has a beefed up topic today. Is cultured meat our future? I think that relates to well-behaved cows, possibly. But I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. Tom has a golden topic for this week. Are rare earth metals really that rare? I think he'll have the answer for us, or at least possibly a silver lining. Who knows? And what else? Oh, yes, we've got the email bag coming up. Today's question from the United States of America. We had one of those a little while back. Everyone always seems to enjoy our popular point counterpoint segment. But first, we'll welcome the other two pod members. Telecommunication Goliath, Mr. Tom McDonald. How is Teletommy today?
Doing great. Thanks very much, Wim. Starting to enjoy the hockey's pretty much over. Mind you, the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs have started, but without our beloved Vancouver Canucks. And now it's golfing season, so I'm pulling out the sticks and seeing if the golf balls are behaving better this year than they were last year.
Good luck.
Well, you're looking very trivial, so welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Also, as usual, here on the We Now Know Better podcast table, Mr. Know-It-All himself, the global property management mogul, David van der Zam. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, hi, guys. It's been, how long has it been since the Vancouver Grizzlies left town? Quite a while now, right? They've been gone
25 years at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're watching yesterday the basketball play-in game between Dallas and Memphis, and the Memphis Grizzlies wore their throwback Grizzlies uniform, and it had right on there Vancouver. Right, it was actually the original jersey, and they won, so they probably never won.
No, they're not true. You know, they're producing those jerseys, the Vancouver Grizzlies jerseys. They're actually producing them.
No, they are. They're reproducing them now. But what they wore yesterday was the authentic,
was the
original. Well, I mean,
probably. And it's a nice jersey. I like it.
Yeah, they hold up well. They look good still.
Yeah, they still do
Not
look
that
good.
I'm a big basketball
Unfortunately, the bodies that were in those jerseys didn't hold up so well.
Yeah.
And you were on one of the many beautiful islands off the coast of southern British Columbia this past week. Would you recommend visiting to our listeners?
Oh, God, Bowen Island is just beautiful. We left Friday morning to catch the ferry at Horseshoe Bay, and it was a zoo. Getting to the ferry terminal, I'd never seen anything like it. By the time we got to the first checkpoint, the person working for BC Ferries asked where we were headed because there was everything was full. I said Bowen Island. Oh, he said, thank God. Far right, right down. And we didn't have a ferry wait, but it's quite a beautiful little island. It's a day tripper's island, really, because there is no accommodation unless you Airbnb it on the island. It's
you can only Airbnb for 30 days or more.
All right.
Yeah, you can only Airbnb for 30 days or more in British Columbia, anyway.
Oh wow.
So
So it was beautiful. Right. Weather was beautiful. Saw sea lions, heard them all night. It was great.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Well, we got a lot to get to, so let's get this program going. We're going to first start with, we like to sort of, I don't know, give credit to our listeners by going to our email bag. Yes, it's the email bag. Tom, how's that musical introduction coming along for this email bag segment?
Well, I tried to get a hold of you before the pod and said, hey, let's get together and do some brainstorming, but it was crickets, just crickets. So I don't know how it's going.
doesn't sound well. Okay.
No, we have to get together because we can do this. It's easy. We don't even have to do it ourselves, even though we are musicians. We just get AI to make up the jingle. We just design
That's
it
true.
and publish
Well,
it.
I'm not
Although
a musician, but I think I could become one.
Have
I'd
you
be a
seen
pretty
yourself-
good musician.
Have you seen yourself dance? You have no rhythm whatsoever.
Have you
You
seen
late,
me
Dave?
skate? I could
How
be a
is it-
hockey player too. I just
How's
have to
your
learn
promptness? Are
to
you
skate
prompt
back.
to meetings? Are you prompt to meetings?
I'm always prompt to meetings.
Okay, well then you can't be a musician. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, we're chronically late. That's what we do.
All right. Well, this week's selected email comes from Kevin H. of the beautiful state of Oregon. And we always like to talk a little bit about both Canada and the U.S. here on the We Now Know Better podcast. So here is Kevin's question. From my perspective, Kevin writes, Elon Musk and Doge seem to be getting some terrific wins with billions of dollars in savings for the American public. And I'll just quickly interrupt here. Doge, for anyone who doesn't know, is a new agency that was developed by the Trump administration to find governmental wasted spending. Doge stands for the Department of Governmental Efficiency. So, okay, Kevin continues. I know Elon Musk he has had some blunders of late, but why do you think that he's getting such a bad rap for helping Americans be less poor? Oh, thanks, Kevin. I think that's a good question. What bothers me is how innocent Americans are falling victim to the abuse because they drive a Tesla, spray painting on cars, on their cars, and spray painting on buildings and dealerships, completely offside, in my opinion. But boys, why is Elon getting such a bad rap when he's having success and working on behalf of the American public for free? Or my guess would be at a loss due to the impact of it's having on some of its companies. Tom?
Yeah, for free and also with a limited time scope as well. I think it was was it 180 days? I believe that the clock was ticking before he steps away. And now I understand because of the bit of the rough ride, he's going to be stepping away earlier. And he also had some conflicts with Peter Navarro, the trade advisor, one of the senior advisors for Trump. Calling him what did he call him? A retardo? Peter Retardo, I believe
And
is what he called him.
it is dense as a sack of bricks.
Yeah. And Navarro said that Musk had never built anything. He only assembles things, which I think is incorrect.
Really.
So that's an interesting
Well, isn't
sidebar.
assembling something building something?
True.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he only assembles rockets. We take a booster from here and we add fuel to it, and then we put a little space pod on top of it, and then we hook it up to a rocket launcher pad, and then we catch it on the way down. So all those things are just parts that we've obtained from various auctions and sales, and we've assembled them together. And look, Mom, what we built. And
it's probably Amazon's biggest account.
Yeah, probably Amazon. We need another one of those chopstick things, please, quick. The batteries didn't last on the first one. But I think the left just are losing their shit because it's an in-your-face. Musk has a sort of an in-your-face rough style that Trump seems to likes because he's in your face, and it just drove them to no ends of the earth to just tear at the sky and rip at their clothes and burn a few Teslas up out of pure and utter frustration. And so, yeah, it looks like it's died down. It'll simmer down like everything is. Like Antifa simmered down after a year, and Minnesota is being rebuilt again, Minneapolis. So I guess burning a few Teslas is not nearly as bad as burning down Minneapolis and San Francisco and creating a brand new Chop Chaz Nation in Seattle. Those things lasted for a while and then they went away after there was lots and lots and lots of property damage, which the left seems to relish. They seems to like make property damage for some reason, with masks on, of course. Anyway, that's my take on it.
All right. Well, Dave, why is Elon getting a bad rap?
He's tied his brand to Trump,
You think
and
it's because
you have and
he's Trump
you
aligned?
and like Tom says, he's not a he's not behind the scenes sort of guy. He's out there, and he makes his opinions known. He's 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 on X as often as Trump is. I find it a little irresponsible for Elon. I applaud him for taking up the mantle of Doge, but he also has a responsibility to the shareholders of Tesla, and they have suffered greatly. I would have somehow stepped aside formally, even if only temporarily, from Tesla, to disassociate myself. But it's an outrage what has been going on to the dealerships and the people who own Teslas, who, interestingly enough. In the United States, I would venture to guess that most of the Tesla owners are Democrats, not Republicans.
That's true.
Like,
That is true.
and I don't even think the owners of their pickup trucks are Republicans. That's jewelry. That truck. It's so they're attacking their own in some sense. It's ridiculous. It's sad to see when they start applauding the difficulties and with the shared value of Tesla dropping. There was cheering from the left at the destruction of the value in an American company. It's interesting. Yeah, they're
Something to see, isn't it?
yeah. It's not good.
From everything that you two have said, I would gather you're kind of suggesting that it's maybe unintelligenced by much of the public, or maybe
I think it's
uneducated.
what's the word I'm thinking of? A fury that can't, non-fertile fury, like when they prostrate themselves to a fury that they can't change anything. And then that just makes them yell at the clouds and scream at the moon. That I feel their pain. I mean, when
Elon has no
Joe
power
Biden
other than the power of discovery that they're looking into inefficiencies, but nothing sticks to Trump. The Democrats have tried for years to smear, litigate, do what they could to discredit the man, and he just went and won election against all that. So Musk is an easy alternate, and a lot of these people seem to think that he's somehow part of the administration, which he's not. He's separate from that, but it's someone that is high profile, identifiable, and closely linked to the Trump brand that they could hopefully do damage.
And he's got a product that's readily available. It's on the store shelves. I mean, it's so easy to attack a Tesla. They're all over the place. They're one of the most popular vehicles, and they're purely North American. They're purely an American vehicle, an American success story, and you at the left just detests them. And he was the darling. He was the darling for years of the left.
Well, with the tariff situation as it is, and it seems to have escalated to the point where China is becoming the primary focal point as of late. Well, Tesla can't be in a good position either way. I mean, they have their gigafactory in Shanghai that produces, I don't know what the numbers are, but large quantities of vehicles. And they have their production facilities in North America, which, interestingly enough, the British Columbia government has done away with any grants to a Tesla, the EV grants. As a
that was really, so stupid.
Are you so?
That made me so angry.
Yeah, like really, you're that small that you're going to do that. I mean, I don't know. But when it comes to tearing a man apart, saving the planet, then takes a back seat to discrediting an individual.
Yeah, I don't know where it's going to go up with him. I mean, eventually, I think he'll fade back, and he'll continue his amazing innovation, his Einsteinium innovations that he is producing in our current age, and leave the balance to Trump. I would imagine is what's going to happen.
Whether he steps away from Tesla in a more formal manner.
The board asked him to step down his chair a couple of weeks ago.
All right.
Yeah, I think he's said no, thank you, but I'm not sure what the upshot of that is.
Does Doge does it just wrap up after 180 days, or is it now going to be so it's no permanent regulatory body of any sort, or
no? They've asked all of the department heads and secretaries to report in with savings and every 5 days. By the way, Wim, your 5-day list of what you've accomplished in the last week has not been submitted. I just got a notice.
Well, I couldn't think of anything.
Well,
there'll be a severance package offered.
Yes. You know what? Or should we fire you immediately?
Send me a check. Send me a check. Yeah. Gladly accept it from you two.
All right.
Well, comment below if you agree with what we've said here about Doge and Elon Musk. Comment below if you like Elon. I personally, he's done some dumb things, but I think overall he's a pretty incredible person he's changed the planet in many ways. That's for sure. So, but let us know what you think. Okay, well, let's get to our prediction of the week. The Canadian federal election is just a week away or so. There are 338 seats up for grabs in the House of Commons, the Canadian Parliament. I have written my prediction into the spreadsheet that I've got going here. I've done it already, which I will read out at the end of this, end of your guys' predictions, so as not to sway your predictions.
Oh, so he's going to change his numbers after he hears ours. Oh, that's pretty good. I got to change my number.
I can't show you the.
I'm looking at his right hand. It better not be moving.
I wouldn't look at that right hand too often if I were you.
Not moving. So I know that you, Dave, pretty much just parrot anything I do or say. So I'm going to start with you. There is 6 parties in the upcoming federal election. The Liberals, Conservatives being the top 2 most popular by far. And then there are the NDP, the New Democratic Party, and the Bloc Québécois is a party solely alive in Quebec. There's the Green Party, and then there's the People's Party of Canada. Dave, what is your prediction for those 338 seats? Where are they going to go?
Well, you can put 0 down for the People's Party of Canada and the Greens. They will be shut out of this election. I am calling for a conservative minority government. I think they will garner 150 seats.
150.
150.
All right.
I think the Liberals will be at 134, with most of those seats in central Canada, split between Ontario and Quebec, and the East Coast. They'll probably be the dominant party there. I have the NDP down. I think they're going to rebound, and that's why I'm calling a conservative minority. I think they're going to grab 16 seats, and the Bloc is going to have 28. And the Bloc will form an alliance with the Conservatives.
Hey, interesting. That's interesting. Okay, does that add up to 338?
Yeah, well, close enough.
1, 2. No, it doesn't add up to 338.
Okay, we'll give whatever's short to add the Liberals. It should be 138.
338.
Yeah, 338.
No.
Oh, well.
No. Okay, well, figure that out what your numbers actually are.
Get back to us.
And Tom is going to give us his prediction.
Okay, you start talking, Tom.
All right. So, Tommy,
yeah,
you're
so
up. Yeah. What are the predictions? So where
So-
are those seats going to end up?
yes, I'm going to give you Liberals at 148, Conservatives at
Oh,
145.
slow it down. Slow it down. Liberals 148. Conservatives
145.
145. Okay.
Yeah, Bloc 30.
Oops. Hold on. Get this in the proper area. 40 for the block.
30.
Sorry.
30. 30.
30 for the block. 30
Yeah.
for the block. All right.
NDP is going to lose 10 seats. They're going to go down to 14.
14.
Green
Okay.
gets one. Green gets one. I'm kind of with Dave that they won't get any, but I'm going to give him one, and then PPC gets 0. And then Wim, you go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to put up Polymarket because Polymarket has some projections as well that they'll share with us.
Okay. Okay. Well, what am I doing? Sorry.
You're going to tell us yours.
Oh, yeah. So there's going to be 40 for the block. So 40 for the block. I've got 115 for the Liberals. I've got
115.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking.
172.
Oh my gosh.
172 for the Conservatives. And I have 1 for the Green.
150.
Sorry, and 10 for the NDP.
So your opinion is that most of the polling is shallow, isn't going to hold up?
I'll tell you what is. I don't think the polling is shallow. I think the polling is accurate, but the distribution of the votes, I think there'll be a greater voter turnout. Number one, and I believe the greater voter turnout will benefit the Conservatives. And with that, the Conservative, each person running for the Conservatives in a riding will just eke out a win. Not all of them, but there'll be more eking out a win than losing, and that is how they'll gain a majority Conservative government.
Interesting.
What are you showing us, Tom?
Yeah, well, here's what Polymarket, which is a betting market, an open betting market, is. This is bettors. These aren't pundits or experts or pollsters. This is just people putting money down. And here's what they've got the seat distribution showing as right there. Can you see that?
No. Maybe just read it to us for those who are listening as well.
Oh, okay. That's not coming up, eh?
I itemized, so I can't.
So it puts the Liberals at 167 seats, the Conservatives at 144 seats, the Bloc at 21, the NDP down to 10, and the Green Party with 1 seat.
1, yeah. So that's. I put the Libs a lot lower than one. I had them at 148, and this is 167. So they're calling for a definite Liberal. Is that a majority? What's the majority on 388 divided by 2?
Well, you can see this.
It won't be a majority.
It won't be a majority, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, that would be a terrible outcome. It would mimic and keep the NDP relevant.
And that is really sad.
And Wim, changed my numbers by adding 6 to the Liberals and 4 to the Conservatives.
What happened? Were you under?
I was 10 under.
My goodness.
I came to 128, not 138.
Yeah, so they're calling Carney to run away with this thing in terms of the leader. If you can see that. And there's the distribution map.
Sorry, Dave, say that again. 6 for the Conservatives?
No, 6. Add 6 more for the Liberals, 4 for the Conservatives.
And 4 for the Conservatives. Okay, I just kind of spread up. 6 for the Liberals. Okay, so you're 140. 140. Tom, sorry, I messed up your Liberal number. What was your Liberal number?
148.
148. Okay.
145.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. With that, you know what? We gotta keep this rolling. Unless you have some other comments about it.
This is less watch television here.
So basically, long and short of it is Tom has the Liberals with the alignment with the NDP, I guess, that will form the next
Who knows? I guess that's the way it goes.
government. And Dave will have the Conservatives with a narrow lead over the Liberals, not a majority, and they'll probably work with a bloc. I guess you're assuming, Dave? Yep.
Are you writing this down, Wim? All these notes down?
No, I'm just writing down the numbers that we wrote there.
Okay.
I can write it down after, though, maybe, if I remember. We'll see.
Well, it'd be interesting because Dave said a balance of power to the bloc. Interesting.
And I've got basically a conservative majority.
I do think the bloc is more their philosophy is more closely aligned with that of a conservative government.
It is. It definitely is.
Yeah.
So and I would say, yeah, you're right. If it comes down to that, the bloc will basically align with the Conservatives and get extra special care through the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's going to be interesting.
All right. Our predictions have been pretty accurate to date. Well,
no, we're pretty smart.
Other than
I'm a pretty smart person.
Then we'd be still waiting for an election in October if Dave's last prediction.
He could be right. Maybe there's a snap election coming in October. If this
you know what, I had dengue fever then. I was not myself.
Could happen.
Comment below if you think one of us is right. There's 3 different opinions there. There's a lot of money on the line. $10,000 is on the line that one of us will have to pay the other. $5,000 each from 2 of us to 1 winner. Very exciting stuff. Okay, wow. On to the topics of the week. Tom, you brought an interesting topic and a question to the We Know Better podcast. We Now Know Better podcast table. Are rare metals really that rare? I'm intrigued. Bring it on.
Okay, well, we've heard a lot of talk about rare earth minerals or rare earth metals, especially as it relates to the trade wars that are going on now with the current administration in the US and China. And people probably hear about these rare earth metals, and I'm thinking they're probably going like I did when I first started learning about this. What's a rare earth? Why do I even care? But there are, and I'll just give you a quick breakdown on it. There's the way that metallurgists or people in the know about this have identified the elements. They've got 17 of them that they've identified as rare earths. I'm not going to go through them all, obviously, but it's pretty interesting.
Mention a couple. So we know what we're talking about.
Scandium. Yttrium.
That sounds like something that comes from your nostrils.
Lanthanum, cerium. There's what I can't pronounce there. Neodymium, promethium.
Lots of eons.
Samarium, Ethiopium, gadolinium.
You are going to read them all.
You think I'm making this up, but I'm really not. And they have elemental scales here.
Is lithium considered rare earth?
No, there's no lithium in here that's rare earth. There's lutetium.
Gotta be. It's an eon.
Lutetium, yeah. And no snide comments on lutetium. It has nothing to do with humans. It's another rare earth metal. Okay. So settle down. And these rare earths are mined. They're mined just like bauxite or iron ore or anything else. That they have to be mined out of the soil. There's a percentage of them that's in the soil, and they're not as rare as you would think they were. Why the hell are they calling them? It's like calling a piano a cello, but saying, well, no, pianos aren't really cellos. We just call them cellos, but they're really pianos. The rare earth metals are not really that rare, but we call them rare. They're used in a lot of different modern technologies. So They're used as for magnets, for instance. Catalysts like catalytic converters, phosphors are used to create red, green, blue phosphors in screens for televisions and computers, smartphones, as well as in LED lighting. So if you have a big screen TV, you're using europium, yttrium, and terbium for the different colors that are emanating. Glass and optics. So lanthanum is used in high quality camera lenses, including cell phones. So you can see really where it's really working hard to play into our existing technology that we're using now. Batteries, the nickel metal hydride batteries are commonly found in hybrid vehicles, use lanthanum, and then metallurgy. Metallurgy. Google's wondering what I'm saying here. Medical applications and defense. Defense are really good. They're not geologically rare, but they're a group of chemically similar elements. They're kind of like a white, dry, powdery element that are excised from geological mining. And I'll give you let me show you quick here.
What do they use it in military? What's the military application? I often wondered that. They're important for military use.
Oh, okay.
Is it the white cocaine that the troops use, or it's white, it's powdery?
Missile guidance systems, laser and radar and sonar systems use them. They probably use them for the portion of the semiconductors and also for the optics in all likelihood. But I mean, other things cross over from consumer and commercial into military industrial,
Yeah.
which is batteries, things like that. So yeah, it's all that kind of jazz. Let me show you another. Where are the rare earths? Have I shown you anything yet? No, I'm not sharing. Let me show you.
Is it rare earth or is it rare dash earth?
It's just rare earth, as far as I can tell. Can
I'm
you
just
see
wondering
that?
if the word rare we're just taking as literal.
Here we go. I'll share this one. Can you guys see this group? Wim, apparently you can't see what I'm showing you, eh?
Oh, I
can
see
it. I got it.
big chunk goes to China.
A huge amount. Now, this is where are the rare earths, not who consumes them. I'll get you to that screen in just a second. But these are where they are. So these
China's got them all.
Yeah, they have a lot. There's 17 elements, as we talked about before, critical and high technology. And rare earths are abundant in the Earth's crust, but mineable concentrations are less common, making the reserves potential are very valuable and strategic. As you can see, China has a lot of reserve, and these are mineable. This is mostly mineable stuff. Isn't that amazing? Vietnam is large. Russia has quite a few. Canada, pretty small. India. So there you go. There's a lot in the Asia area, but not so much anywhere else. If you notice, I don't know if you can see this or not, but Greenland has more than Canada by almost double. So maybe that's why Trump wants Greenland, because I don't see much about United States. The United States has 1.3% of the mineable reserves for rare earth. So they don't have a lot. So they still depend on China for this. So this is interesting, because if they depend on China, and China has just shut the export of rare earths to the United States, that just was in the news, I think 3 days ago. How is the United States going to play that out? Where are they going to get their rare earth minerals from if they don't get them from China? Let's show you the next one. We'll share this chat.
I mean, based on proven reserves, like in China, they've been mining and extracting it for long enough that they've proven out what's there. It's not been an item of interest in North America.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. As a matter of fact, there was a huge lithium deposit in a field that spans Northern California, Nevada, and Oregon. Massive. It's not far from where I own some land, but unfortunately, it's not where we are. But it doesn't matter. They are discovering huge, and I'm sure Canada will have the same benefit if they start looking for it. Here's a critical minerals security mineral processing graph, you can see these Zen diagrams. Apparently, these Kamala Harris loves these Zen diagrams. So here you go. This is for Kamala, and it just shows you who is using most of the metallurgy. U.S. by far is the largest, and it's not surprising. They're importing that amount. So there's a good review of some of the consumption that you're seeing there. And what we do next is going to be interesting, because with China shutting down rare earth supply, and they have the most of it, we go back to this one, then where's America going to get it for a lot of their production, especially if they're trying to onshore all of the manufacturing of I don't think Trump wants to onshore the making of sneakers and t-shirts. I think he's quite happy to let Cambodia and Vietnam do that. I think what he wants is to onshore some of the higher tech and essential military and industrial requirements, to bring them onshore. Well, they're the ones that need the rare earths, and China has the most of them. Will that mean that the production capacity will be exceeded in the United States in the coming years, or can they produce enough for them to do what they need to do, keeping in mind that America has offshored their consumerism demands mostly to China? So China has a lot of the rare earths, but makes the product in China that gets shipped to the States. So that's a good news story, I guess, for China. But the bad news is for China, what happens to them when America starts to onshore things and making their iPhones and other equipment like this onshore? Can they even do it, guys? I mean, you can buy a 72-inch big screen TV for $1,000 today. Are you going to be able to do that if they make them in the United States with $40 or $50 an hour labor? I'd be hard pressed to see that they
that will be an automated plant anyway.
They're hoping to make it an automated plant.
There'll probably be very few people. That's the only way you can onshore. And Tom, I'd be interested. Yes, China dominates, but probably for the reason that it's more regulatory than anything else. That you had no chance to get approvals in the U.S. or, for that matter, in Canada for these types of mines. It would take you forever, and you'd have environmental groups lined up to use every trick in the bag to stall or kill the projects altogether. So it's
you're absolutely right. The regulatory burden in
more
America,
about clearing their regulatory burdens.
Yeah, it is. No, you're absolutely right. And they're going to have to, and Trump's saying he's willing to change that substantially. So that will definitely shift the technology production in the world. If what he does works, it'll shift the technology production. Will it work? Is that actually what he really wants to do, or is he just trying to extract himself from maybe being the world's policeman? Getting Europe to step up for their defense contract contributions, and just being less dependent on China, which, let's face it, they're not only a competitor, they're an adversary, and possibly, if things progress, an enemy.
Yeah, you're right.
One piece that I think is missing, and maybe you have another graph for that, Tom, but so China with 44 billion tons of rare earth metals or elements. I mean, it could be in just maybe 4 items, and they have a ton of those 4 items. Like, is there a breakdown on? I mean, a lot of rare earth or rare elements are not necessarily really all that valuable or necessary. So you can have yourself as much of one EM as you want, and if it has no value or purpose, then who cares?
Well, I think when I was doing the research on this, it did say that they are found in abundance in commonality. So probably fair to assume that China has a good proportionate possession of the 17 elements, not just like 99% of one, but almost 0% of the others. That's the impression I was getting.
It's odd, Tom, because I was always under the impression that China was resource poor, notably so, and not in the context of rare earth elements, but of other more commonly traditionally mined elements.
Well, I
And there's
mean, they're
surprisingly
doing
little in the way of.
coal-fired plants. They're opening up a coal-fired plant a week. They must be burning their own coal.
Oh yeah, no, well, are they? Are they? I think Australia sends them a tremendous amount of coal. The Australians have crippled their own coal industry as far as utilizing it for power production, but they're happy to send it to China and let them burn it into the same atmosphere that we share.
Yeah. And I think that LNG, they don't have a lot of LNG. That's one of the reasons why Canada has an opportunity to do their exporting of LNG to China.
No, there's no business case for that, apparently.
Oh, there's not? Okay.
Well, there isn't to China. There isn't a business case to Germany or Japan. How can
Oh,
there
that's
be
true.
a business case to China?
Yeah, yeah. Really good
Uh,
question. Really good question.
Very
Well, if the
sad.
Liberals get in again, they'll probably shut the LNG project down.
Yeah.
We don't need it.
Well, Pierre has good plans for getting our LNG shipped overseas. So I do hope that comes to fruition.
It's about to come online in 2025. I believe the first shipment is imminent. Imminent.
Yeah,
From the
that's
West
good.
Coast, you mean? From
Yeah, up
the
north in wherever the deep
is it
port is.
Kitimat?
I think it's in Kitimat. I'm not sure. I'd have to check that out again. It's a massive project.
Yeah, there's supposed to be like 4 of them, but we've got 1 so far.
Kitimat. Yeah, the Kitimat LNG facility.
Well,
That's the one.
I found your topic interesting. I had a big question mark when you told me what it was going to be. I'm sure our listeners did too. But comment below if you think Tom really nailed a good one there, or if this was just a waste of good pod time. All right, moving on. Dave, is cultured meat our future? You have some stake in this topic. What's your beef?
You know, we're all familiar with lab grown meat. It's been in the news for a little while, but there was a recent breakthrough in that some Japanese scientists in the University of Tokyo have managed to culture a piece of chicken that is 10 grams in size. So it's a kind of a nugget-sized piece of chicken. And this is quite a significant milestone because it's one thing to create tissue in a petri dish, and it's another to build a scaffolding of muscle out of all the tissues. And it's interesting going back to 1931. Winston Churchill was prognosticating that in the future we would grow our meat using, in his term, hormones, rather than having the traditional means of animal husbandry. But it wasn't until the 1990s when a Dutch researcher took a serious run at lab-grown meats, and he based his research from stem cell research, which was used for growing skin cells for burn victims. And it was after that he theorized that he could do the same thing using animal cells and producing meat. So that was the early 1990s, and in 2002, some bioengineers successfully grew fish cells, and from there it progressed to the point where they were making meat from pork, chicken, and beef. And it was in 2000 and I think 13 that the first hamburger was produced at a eye-popping cost of $330,000. So that was
See it
one.
being kind of a limited clientele on that one.
That would be a very limited clientele. But now it's to the point where they've got the cost to produce a pound of chicken down to about $12 a pound, which is comparable to what current prices for chicken are. And they anticipate being able to bring that down to $6 a pound. So, it touches on a bunch of broader issues such as land use, animal cruelty, with how the various animals are treated, specifically how chickens are tortured almost into
ozone depletion.
yeah, all the different elements, even land use, with the amount of land it takes, particularly with beef, to produce a pound of beef. So in theory, it's something that's very attractive if it can be pulled off. But there's some significant obstacles, and one of it is, when you're growing a piece of meat, you're having to replicate basically a circulatory system for delivering nutrients to the cells and taking waste away. And that is easier said than done. They use a scaffolding of little mini microtubes, and there's a network of over 1,000 of these tubes that are used to feed into the growing meat cells as they build upon themselves and create the piece of muscle that will be used and marketed. So now you may have asked yourself, what do they feed? What do you feed a cell? And
well, I want to know who's the market for this. That's what I want to know.
I think everyone would be the market. I mean, beef will be beef, chicken will be chicken, pork will be pork. It's not like you're genetically modifying. You are just growing existing cells to become what they will become outside of having to be within the hide of an animal. But it would be an ethical means if they weren't if only they weren't feeding the cells fetal matter from bovines. They have to slaughter a pregnant cow and harvest the fetus, and through whatever processes they use, that is used to grow the cells. So there's big ethical questions surrounding that. Although now there is research being done to use plant products as a substitute. So it's not an insurmountable problem.
What's the ethical dilemma? I mean, to me, okay, I'm listening to you saying, okay, well, we're going to grow pork, we're going to grow beef, we're going to grow chicken cells, and they're living cells that we're going to consume. So we're going to eat the living cells, which means that they will die. And I'm trying to understand, since a pig or a cow is made up of billions and billions and billions of cow cells, okay, just to make it simple, what's the difference between billions of cow cells and killing them or killing a few 100 million cow cells at a time? You're still killing the cells. One has eyes and a face, the other one doesn't. Does that make it ethical?
Sure. There's no brain in there. It's a slab of meat, Tom.
Oh,
so lab to your plate.
It's got nothing to do with killing the cells. It has to do with the brain.
It probably grow it perfectly. It's probably in perfect proportion.
Counterpoint is coming. So, but so So yeah, I think you were gonna tell us, but yeah, what are they feeding it? What is it being grown?
Well, currently,
from?
amongst other things, but there is this what is it termed? I noted it down. It's FBS, fetal bovine serum, and I'm sure it's similar if it's pork or chicken that is fed back to the growing cells. But again, there's alternates being considered, and this is in combination with the amino acids and other proteins, I would assume, being delivered to the cells along with oxygen and all the other necessities of life. So if they clear that part of it, and you're using plant-based products to feed the growing cells will never reach a point of being nothing other than growing cells. They will have no nervous system. They will feel no pain when they're put in the frying pan, Tom. We will consume them happily, and they will probably have all the lovely texture and flavors that we so admire in a nice piece of meat, like a steak or
Well,
grilled chicken.
I have a question. So the thing that makes a ribeye really tasty for me is not just the meat itself, it's actually the fat that's in the meat.
Of course.
So are these meat cultures including fat cells as well as muscle cells?
Why wouldn't they?
Well, I'm asking you,
Well, they're
you're the
smart people.
expert.
They're still at the point where they'll probably inject fat into it. I mean, I don't know. I don't like your negative attitude. Well,
I have to get on board with feeding the population.
I mean, if you're not on board with this, you're going to be eating maggots because they're going to be banning all other types of animals.
What's wrong with crickets?
Yeah, well, you have at it.
Klaus Schwab says that we will be eating crickets and we will like it.
How do you feel about consuming it?
Oh, I would have no problem.
Tom?
No.
Oh, right. You're still with the brain thing.
I tell you, you could batter a piece of cardboard and it would taste good in the deep fryer. What the heck?
And we may have to do that.
Well, listening to you, I came up with a great marketing name: Slaughterless Meat. What do you think?
Good. Yeah,
I know.
You know, and they don't like lab-grown meat. That gives bad connotations. Cultured meat. Doesn't that sound like what the hell do I don't want the cow from the pasture. Give me the nice cultured.
That sounds disgusting.
Almost like Wagyu. All right. Well, Dave, thank you for bringing that to the table. Kind of interesting.
You haven't told me if you'd eat it.
Oh, I haven't. Yeah, I would. I would try it for sure. And if all things were equal, I would eat it. Yeah.
Tom's a negative Nelly.
No, negative Nelly.
Not interested. Thank you. You guys can eat all of that biomass, cultured petri dish shit. I'll just stick with my pork chops and ribeye. Thank you very much.
Feeding the environment those greenhouse gases, all those cows farting away in fields. Okay.
Yep. Driving my
Comment below is this something that you would eat? Would you eat a cultured meat? And also comment, is Tom really quite a cow here? But let us know right below there. You'll see a little comment box and just fill it in. We'd like to hear from you, boys and girls. It is that time though, for what we call Point Counterpoint. It's a nice and fun and not too intense way to end the show. Point Counterpoint is where I present a topic to both Dave and Tom, and no matter what their feelings or opinions on the topic, they both have to argue one side or the other. They do not know the topic beforehand, and I'll appoint them a side which they must argue passionately, fervently even. In general, they both usually, argue pretty well their sides. Sometimes there's a fail, but they have to give it their best Boy Scout effort. So, and then in the hopes of winning the coveted, we now know better Point Counterpoint Trophy of the Week. So, here is the topic. Are you two ready?
As ready as we
can.
Give it to us.
God, can you give some some life to this. Like,
Well,
show some
Tom's usually so
emotion.
lame in this section. I usually beat him up, so it's getting a little boring.
It's because you guys have this nepotism going on, and I'm an outsider.
Looks like you're inside right now.
Did you give him the indefensible side?
Again.
We'll find out. Our unelected Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, who is also running to become the elected Prime Minister, wants to inject $150 million into the CBC Broadcasting Corporation. I think the CBC loses, is it a $500 million a year? I think it is. I think they lose $500 million a year. This is for all their broadcasting that they do across Canada and in Canada only. Now, $150 million, if he wants to give more. But, CBC is providing a service to Canadians. I mean, Canadians need news. And this is a means of distributing news that some would say the government controls, but supposedly they don't. So, Dave, you love your news. So you're going to side on the more is better argument. You'd love to see the CBC get more funding for the various reasons that you are about to argue. Tom, you'd rather see CBC completely defunded, or at least given no more. Get it to be break even or something. I'm not sure what you're going to argue.
So Dave gets to say an incremental increase, and I have to say it's abolished.
No. You argue your side. I'm talking about the $150 million initially, but you might. There's reasons why you may not want to give them the $150 million. Maybe you just see money being thrown into a black hole, and then I don't know your reasons. You'll have to argue it, and you'll have to convince our listeners as to what is the best thing to do here. Abolish it, maybe get it to be profitable. You might, but you really don't want that $150 million going to them. So you are wholeheartedly against giving the CBC more money. So we're going to start with, let's start with David today. Dave, tell us why more money is better money when it comes to the CBC.
Well, we've never spent enough money on the CBC. I mean, it's comparatively, Canada's a laggard in this arena. We underfund our public broadcaster to an embarrassing degree. Most countries in the world fund their public broadcasters by a stipend of so many dollars per person. So they have stable funding, assured funding based on population. Canada doesn't have that. We have a willy-nilly network where whatever government who happens to be in power will decide what the budget for the public broadcaster is going to be. So you have a institution that is never sure of what its global budget's going to be going forward, and it can't take or make strategic decisions on the future of their operations. So I think that it's a institution that, because it's been underfunded and because it's always been vulnerable, they have tended to be biased in their approach to broadcasting, knowing that it's unlikely that a conservative government would increase their budget, and it would be much more likely that a liberal government would at least maintain or give them increases that are necessary moving forward. So in my estimation, giving them a bigger budget would make them less hyper-political and biased. So I'm all for increasing it much more than $150 million. What the hell? They lose $500 million. Make them whole. Give them $500 million. Get them to be if not profitable, at least break even. And and then we'll see a much better CBC and a much happier population.
Okay, interesting. He said
Yeah,
it
he
without-
must have had to bite his tongue when he was saying all that. That's just embarrassing for Dave to have to take that side. And I know he's just digging his fingernails into his knee. and
Grinding
his
my
leg.
teeth.
Ah!
Well,
Catherine
Tom,
Tate- yeah, yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's hear you're going to argue your side yet. We want to hear what you have to say, why they don't deserve a penny.
Catherine Tate is the highest paid CBC executive in Canadian history. She earns more than over $500,000 on her base salary. They fail to produce content that the Canadians actually want to consume after missing 79% of the key performance targets that they made themselves clear. It's the last thing that they need is more money. But after her opening statement to Parliament, she asked the NDP Liberal government for more tax dollars. The last time Tate received an emergency funding of $42 million, 42 million taxpayer funded top-ups from Trudeau, and then she quickly paid out $18.4 million in bonuses. That works out to $73,000 per executive. Many of them are making over $500,000 a year. $73,000 in paid up extra bonus money is more than typical working Canadians can see in an entire year. And she said that even though she's presided over a tenure of CBC viewership that collapsed by nearly 50%, forcing her to cut 800 jobs, she's still looking for more money. She wants more money, and they can't. Here's the problem. CBC was invented or created in 1936. Now, in 1936, we didn't have a plethora of digital streaming media. We did not have the internet. We didn't even have cable news back then. And well, I know because I have a father, Dave, and he was born then. So I talked to him. I actually communicated with my father, unlike you. And so he told me all this stuff. He told me I'm very, very smart, Dave, just like your mother tells you. And it was created as a public.
Your father was wrong.
A public service entity back then, so that it could distribute and bring news to Canadians that had no other way of getting global information, none at all. Well, now, and for the last 30 years, we've had lots of different ways to get global information. And what CBC has decided to do, instead of shrink and say, well, let's just serve the outlying areas to the best of our ability, because they still need a good CBC. Absolutely, I'm with that. Even though you could argue that internet is just about everywhere now. They got into entertainment content and decided to create shows like the Beachcombers and Corner Gas. And they can't compete against our American compatriots down in the States. People that are watching are probably ones that don't subscribe to like a cable news outlet or to Rogers or Bell to be able to get streaming services. So their audience is tiny, and it's getting smaller and smaller, and yet they want more and more handouts. What needs to happen is there has to be a commission to study the CBC for waste, fraud, and abuse, number one, because I guarantee there's waste, fraud, and abuse.
How long do you go on, Will?
And then look at the actual mandate that CBC has.
He's ranting. He's ranting.
Don't give them the 170 million. Probably cut it by 20%, and it would still function well. So that's the argument on the side of not overfunding CBC, Dave. Unlike what your opinion is.
Okay, I should get 5 more minutes as a rebuttal because he went overtime. Like, do we even have
if
a
you've
clock
got a
on
rebuttal,
this? Do we even have a clock on this? You know, when they made the announcement in 1931, John or Tom, it was via the internet. So, get your facts straight.
It was via the internet, of course. And you know what? They've got those gold-plated pensions too, the defined benefit pensions, the DB, as opposed to defined contributions. Which means that if you can make it through, 25 years of undetected crimes with CBC, you've got a gold-plated pension for the rest of your life.
Hey, what about Schitt's Creek? That was a pretty good show.
That was a pretty good show. Eugene Levy did pull that one up, and we've had
that was a good one.
Catherine O'Hara. Was she part of Schitt's Creek? I think.
Oh yeah, she was
Yeah,
very good. Yeah, that was a good one.
No, Canada puts out some
Well-
good talent. There's no doubt about it, but none of it exists in the hierarchy of CBC.
I have to say, Dave, I mean, unless you have a very quick rebuttal, Tom has got you on this one.
Well, you better give me a real good topic for the next 3 weeks because that was undefensible. You even things up on that one.
Oh yeah, thank you
okay,
very much. It's about
Answer
time.
me this. And I'd like both of you to sort of give me your opinion. What if it was just completely defunded and went away?
Yeah,
What would happen?
yeah, I'm
What would
good.
happen?
I'm good with it.
I wouldn't cry.
The
I
only
mean,
downside maybe is outlying areas, like up in the
Well, but-
north or places like that.
Get them internet then.
I
Get
think
them internet.
I think
Really?
that the
Yeah.
CBC would benefit greatly from a totally revamped board of directors that is truly representative and neutral, apolitical.
Uh-huh.
Take the bias out of CBC. It's so transparent where their
Yeah, that's for
loyalties
sure.
lie. And it's not surprising. They know who's going to butter their bread, and
And
make it
entitlement.
so that they really do reflect what the country they serve. They don't. They at present they reflect whatever woke progressive mentality flows out of the elite in central Canada, and that's what's served up, and that's why no one watches.
Well, let me ask you this question: if you take away the CBC, which is the bastion of the creative content in Canada, how would Canada have a creative content industry?
I think we have it outside of the CBC now for the longest period of time. I mean,
With CTV or with what?
I think it's the talent is not through the legacy networks or media. I think talented people are finding alternate ways of exposure and bringing their artistic abilities to the broader population.
Well, I mean,
I-
for music, yes. I mean, you got the Shania Twains and the Justin Biebers and Avril Lavigne's and all those. Of course, they've done well outside of the Canadian market. But what about like television shows?
Oh, what the hell television shows did we ever produce outside of the few we commented on? I mean, you dragged up Beachcombers and Corner Grass. Well, that's over 50 years or better. So I would say we produce nothing in the way of interesting television programs. So nothing would change.
Yeah, I
What
agree.
What would we lose?
What about opportunities for up and coming musicians or artists who do sort of get some exposure on CBC radio, for example?
Well,
Mhm.
I would think that if we were culturally united and strong, then there would be a reason to have the CBC. I mean, the CBC in Quebec is very strong, and their culture is very strong, and they produce a lot of talent within the province that is recognized. I'm not sure how much outside the province, but they produce celebrities that are notable and recognizable within the province of Quebec. So it's not as though it can't happen, but it can't happen the way the CBC outside of Quebec runs itself and presents itself.
Yeah, old school thinking, old technology, and overspending. Just a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse at CBC needs to be cut.
It does need some oversight, much better than what it has right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, I find it really
Well-
annoying that you said that he won so quickly because he aligned with your thoughts. That's hardly
No.
allowing the people to express their opinion. They probably agree with me.
Yeah,
What
I'm
I
sure
have to
there are
present.
some out there who do.
There are people that agree with you, Dave. No doubt about it.
All right. Well, I'm a Canadian in the States, and I feel like I'm being targeted. I don't know why that is. Anybody have any ideas why?
That's funny. There's a laser pointer on Wim's temple or on his forehead right now. So.
Okay. Well, do you have any last parting comments, boys?
No, other than I just just anecdotally, there's a lot of conservative signs in our neighborhood, which is classically an NDP neighborhood. I don't know what that means. I just seen a lot, so it's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, the other comment I'd have towards that is it's amazing how many young people are conservatives now as compared to in the past.
100%.
And how many of the older Canadians are becoming more liberal in their inclinations and less conservative. That's kind of a total reversal of what you would expect the norms to be.
You know what my opinion is on that? The older people are there's a lot of elderly with very little money. Where are they most likely to get handouts from?
From the government.
Liberals.
Yeah.
And the young people, they see a future, and they see they want a future. They want to have opportunity, and all they see is liberal handouts. And how about we invest in our young, which is part of the conservative platform, and it's logical, and it's stop the spending, stop the overspending. They see that as something that they're just going to be responsible for down the road. So I think that's why younger people are going to be voting. More younger people are going to be voting conservative, and the elderly are actually going to the Liberals all of a sudden.
I think the elderly also, to piggyback on that, is that they don't give a shit about the national debt going forward because they've got a short runway here. They're out of the game in about 10 to 15 years, but the kids have to support this debt that's continuing to climb.
Yeah. I vote early. Early voting apparently opens tomorrow. I'm going to vote early.
Vote early and vote often.
That's a good motto. I like that.
Motto. That's a good motto. All right. Well, thank you, everybody out there for listening and watching, or watching and listening, or both. And if you don't mind taking a second to hit that like button, share this episode with a friend, please, please, please. We're growing this pod, and I don't know, people seem to enjoy it for some reason, but we'd like to get to more of you. So the best thing you could do, and biggest favor you can do for us, is just subscribe. It's free. Just subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your pods, and then that'll assist us greatly. This podcast will continue to get better and better because, like I always say, it just can't get any worse. For David Vanderzalm, Tom McDonald, and myself, Wim Vanderzam, we will see you next time on the We Now Know Better podcast. Bye for now.